Now that we're living in the year of 2020, looking back at everything, the Jetsons is kind of embarrassing. Hello and welcome! I hope everyone had a good Christmas and a Happy New Year's Eve. I certainly did. First and foremost, I recently noticed that quite a few new people subscribed to the channel, so a thank you goes out to them. You know who you are. Secondly, I need your help. If I could give my brain a visual metaphor, something that you could look at and go, oh yeah, that's what Marcus's brain looks like, it would be the brain house from the movie Dreamcatcher. I don't particularly like that movie, at least I don't remember liking it, mainly because it made going to the bathroom seem like a fucking nightmare. But one aspect of the movie I did like was the visualization of one's mind and self. In this case, it was a house cluttered with shit. The shit being memories, thoughts, and ideas. So, yeah, this is what my brain looks like. It kinda sucks. Partly because I have so many things I want to talk about or explore. So much so that I need help. This is where you come in. Below in the description of this video is a link to a straw poll. In that poll are 4 ideas for YouTube videos. And here's the thing, I want to make all of these videos, and in fact, I am going to, but I need to know where to start. It's not a question of which video will do better on the channel, or which video I'm more passionate about. I'm gonna make these videos regardless, and I'm pretty passionate about them. I wouldn't be doing them if I wasn't. No, the question is more, just which one do I do? Where do I start? So I'm saying fuck it and letting you guys pick. The poll will also be posted to my Twitter as well. Now, playing catch-up. What does that mean? Well, essentially, I've noticed that there are a lot of instances of me saying, I can't wait to try this out, or I'm definitely going to play this, and then that never happens. I think it's mainly because there's too much media in general that I want to experience. Movies are easy because they generally only take up about 2 hours of my time. 3 sometimes. Novels are manageable. I can read a book for about an hour at night and get through it eventually. You just gotta chisel away at it. Video games are hard. There's no telling how long a video game will generally be. Sometimes they can be 4 hours, like Stories Untold. Or other times they can be literally endless, like XCOM 2. I have 262 hours in XCOM 2, and I don't regret a single one of them. And there are a lot of video games I want to play and talk about, like Jesus Christ. My Steam library has over 300 games in it. 300! I have a Gerard Butler and his band of sweaty gays worth of video games to go through. The Persians had it easy. They had a whole army. I'm one man taking on 300 sweaty gay man video game hybrids. Now, to some, that might sound like the best fucking time in the world, but to me, that still sounds like a pretty good time, but it's a daunting task. You have to be prepared for something like that. You can't just rush in there sampling everything. You have to dedicate the right amount of time. And that's not even mentioning television. If I ever do a video on a TV series, it's most likely going to be something old and done with. Because if a TV show does well, and it isn't a soap opera, then it'll never end. Smallville, something I do want to experience, is 10 seasons long. Think about that. Smallville has 217 episodes. Let's be generous and say that each individual episode is 45 minutes, once you cut out the commercials. That is roughly 162 hours worth of stories and characters. That is a huge time investment. Like, damn! But funny enough, I'd rather tackle my list of TV shows to watch than tackle my video game backlog. Because watching TV is easy. You just sit there and pay attention. Video games are a whole different breed of paying attention. You have to learn controls, actively not lose focus because you're most of the time engaging with the medium in some way. Whether it's combat, puzzle solving, decision making, traversal, menu navigation, you have to be aware of the actions you're taking. It's some taxing shit. To give you an idea, I started playing The Outer Worlds about a month ago, and I only made it through the first planet, and was already really impressed. But that game is an investment. You have to remember shit. You have to give it the time it needs / deserves. So, I've implemented a system. I'm only playing one game at a time. I can't do this jumping back and forth between game shit anymore. It's not productive. So, I'm picking a game and sticking with it until I am done. Currently, that's Death Stranding, because I am a huge Hideo Kojima fanboy, and I'll be damned if I'm not going to be able to play the fuck out of this game! There are going to be some exceptions to this rule, though. Mainly two. YouTube-related stuff and multiplayer games. If there's a game I want to discuss or explore on the channel, then I'm going to do that. But I also know that it's impossible to play just one video game for an extended period of months. Despite what I just said a few seconds ago. I look at this differently though, because this isn't really playing a game, it's more work related, work being in quotations. And multiplayer games get a pass because I don't play them often, and the ones I do play I'm already familiar enough with, so there's really nothing taxing my brain power. At the most, I'll be playing through 3 video games at any given moment, but really it's only gonna be 2, should I choose to do a Marcus Rambles on a video game. I hope I explained that well enough. Now, there's also a second part of my system. No more buying games. Yeah, I've recently taken a look at my gaming environment, both physically and digitally, and have come to the realization that I have enough video games to last me until the bombs drop. So, with only 2 exceptions, those exceptions being Resident Evil 3 Remake and Cyberpunk 2077, because we have a city to burn, samurai, I'm gonna try my damnedest to not buy any more video games for the foreseeable future. Now, obviously, I can't predict the future, and there will no doubt be a game that comes out and just instantaneously grabs my dick and pleasures it until the end times. But I'm hoping that's not the case. Okay, so moving on. We're still playing catch up. I have no shortage of videos to produce. Seriously, I don't. I started recently going through old episodes of my podcast, the Super Canadian Cast, and tasked myself with keeping track of things I said I would take a look at, read, watch, play, etc, etc. This is proving difficult. To give you an idea, I only made it to, I think, episode 3 of the podcast, and I ended up with 8 pages of worth of things. That's a lot of things. That's, oh my god, no! Not all of them are going to be video topics, but then again, I don't know that for certain. I haven't experienced them yet. You see? This is the problem. There's just too much. And I haven't even begun to mention you guys. I see your comments, and I want to reply. Now, thankfully, this is going to be easily done, because I don't think I have that many comments to go through. At the most, it can't be more than 200. And some of them I've already personally responded to. And some of them are irrelevant at this point in time, so let's do it! Zombies are scary, and I pooped my pants. I'm sorry to hear that. I LARP sometimes, but I'm always Master Chief? I can't tell if that's a compliment or they're bragging. Regardless, finish the fight. Just a short list of dead IPs I'd want brought back. Chrono Trigger, Oddworld, Banjo-Kazooie, Conquer Bad Fur Day, WarioWare. It would be nice to see the Chrono series come back in some meaningful way. I only ever played Chrono Cross, and I loved what I played of it. But so long as Final Fantasy remains king in the eyes of Square Enix, this will never happen. Now, funny enough, they are making a new Oddworld game. Oddworld Soulstorm. I've never played these games, but I really want to, seeing as they're kind of this bizarre cult classic that everyone talks about. So I want to see what's behind the hype. Banjo-Kazooie is technically dead, but it lives on via Hat in Time. Funny, seeing as how the game that was literally supposed to be a spiritual successor to Banjo, Yooka-Laylee, wasn't all that well received. Visually, I think Yooka-Laylee nailed it, but from my understanding, it doesn't have quite the same charm or fun factor as its predecessor. Then comes along A Hat in Time. It's funny how things work. Conquer is dead. I don't really care, because I never played any of those games. And WarioWare literally had a game come out in 2018. So there's that. What up, the Super Canadian guys? great variety of video you have on your channel. Love the diversity. Sub to your channel. Check out ours if you have the time. We're Canadian too. Fuck yeah! Keep up the good work. I wanted to mention this comment for a few reasons because I think it's a great example. If you come to me asking me to take a look at your channel, possibly do it like this. They were kind, courteous, they weren't demanding. I appreciate that. But, this is a huge but, I never ended up subscribing to this channel. The channel in question being Party of Six. Party of Six? Why didn't I subscribe? Well, it didn't click with me. That's not to say they're doing something wrong or they're bad at whatever it is they're doing. I just didn't find it all that interesting. So if you do come to me asking me to check out your channel, don't be surprised if I don't stick around and subscribe. It's nothing personal, I just didn't find a reason to click that little red button. I guess I should also state that I don't do follows for follows. There's something off-putting about that. Like, it's creepy. I'm liking what I see, guys. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. The podcast hasn't even come back yet, and I'm already being seduced by Jake. Jacob tends to have that power over people. He's like a doofy, sexy Machiavellian. I'd also like to take this time to mention that we will indeed be trying to bring back the Super Canadian cast this year, so stay tuned for that. Hi there! Thank you for playing our game. That's so awesome of you. Remember to jump out of fights you are about to lose, sometimes they follow through. All the best. Okay. This is gonna get awkward. Axel Runkila? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Is the team lead and I think the head of marketing for Bug Bite Games, the company that acted as the first to give me a video game for free. At the time, this was a big deal because I've never received a video game for free from a developer. I still think it's huge. Here's the thing. Bug Bite Games are not the only ones to have done this. I've received a couple emails from game developers reaching out to give me Steam codes for their games. And I don't know what happened. I think fear and shock kind of took over. And thus, I never did anything. I've never responded. Hell, I didn't even look at the games. And I feel like shit for doing this. Someone took time out of their day to message me. Me. Someone who had, at the time, maybe, I don't know, 80 subs? Like, fuck, I genuinely feel like shit. I also do not check the official's email for the Super Canadian guys all that often. Primarily because for a while I didn't receive any emails, so I thought it was a bust. So I want to clarify. If you've sent an email to this channel in hopes of contacting us to do coverage for a game, or just offering to send us a copy of the game for free, I'm sorry. Going forward into the new year, I will be making strides to correct this problem, but because this is something that happens often, I guess this happens often, I've been receiving offers as of late of 2019. Fuck, I'm bad at this! I need to state something. Just because you give me a game for free does not guarantee you positive publicity. Sure, I'll most likely talk about the game. I may even do a video on it simply because I feel obligated to. But that doesn't mean I'm going to say nice things. I may hate the game you send me. Or at the very least, it may not be a game that's aimed at me. So if you send me Steam keys to a sports game, I'm most likely not going to play it. The most I'll do is send an email back saying thanks but no thanks. Just wanted to get that out there. Clearly, Oscorp is just general bad guy science company. You know, I can actually accept that answer if they played things from that angle. I mean, the company still has to have a front. Weapons development, pharmaceuticals, literally something. Or if the movie is cheesy enough, then that really shouldn't be a problem. I never had to ask these questions with Spider-Man 1. Peter Parker doesn't fell like Peter Parker. No, Gwen Stacy does all the falling. In all seriousness though, they make a good point. Recent Spider-Man movies have done a good job of making Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield really stands out from the crowd, even against Tobey Maguire. Didn't have 45 minutes to see if you got there, but Man-Thing was used as a character in the old animated series Dungeons & Dragons. I think it was season 1. Link is here. This was the strangest turn of events. Curiously, I watched the video in the link. It's an episode of the old Dungeons & Dragons animated series. I have a little experience with this show. I've watched it a handful of times as a kid, so I watched the episode in question, Prison Without Walls. I couldn't see this coming. The fucking episode has just outright Man-Thing in it. Now, granted, he doesn't look exactly like Man-Thing, but there's some striking similarities, not only in terms of his appearance, but also character. In this cartoon, he's a wizard who gets turned into this monster by an evil force. I mean, wizards are pretty smart. They're almost like scientists. This is too much for me to handle. I may have to do a whole video on this. Dale Cooper may be fine, but he's no Pickle Rick! I have no words for this. None. Liked the insights, but was hoping maybe this was a teaser for a Power Ranger Teletubby crossover movie. Also nicely done on the effects. What? Thank you for the compliment. But what? I'm going for the win with that sound wave. This made me mad, because I'm a big Soundwave fan. He's my favorite Decepticon, and when I saw this comment, my immediate reaction was, it's not Soundwave. But guess what? It is! It's Soundwave! I don't know what show this is from, but he looks like shit! Don't fuck with Soundwave's design. He is perfect the way he is! Real Transformers have blocky designs. Oh, fuck. Have these guys even LARPer before or watched a game of it? What is LARPer? Comment. Response? My favorite superhero is Gundman. I don't have a response to that, I just wanted to say it. Holy Marcus! This video has a whack of views! Why? No, seriously, why is this video, this 6-minute video of me talking about miniatures and looking at the one I got made custom, have over 41k views? YouTube is weird. Regardless, I have to say thank you. I don't know what I did to deserve this, but cool. Loser. That's fair. Gonna post a painted version of your character? I might do this. I'm not super skilled when it comes to painting miniatures. I've only recently started doing this, but further down the line, once I've accumulated more skill and practice, then yeah, I'll show off what he looks like. Turn your music down. You're not my dad, Jeff! And as of me recording this is all the comments I chose to respond to. Everything else was either not worth bringing up or already addressed. And now, we come to the final act of this video. This is gonna be a bit sappy, but this year wasn't just any ordinary year. This was the end of a decade. A literal decade. We are now living in the futuristic year of 2020. And thus, I wanted to take a moment and say thank you to a specific few who had brought me joy, happiness, insight, and words of wisdom over the course of the last few years or so. I'm mainly pulling from my YouTube subscription feed and my Twitter feed. If you don't get mentioned, don't feel hurt or anything. This is a big list of people, and not all of them have affected me in the same way. So, here we go. Right off the hop, I just want to say thank you to my friends, family, and the rest of the Super Canadian guys. That's pretty much a given, but still, tell your family you love them. It means the world for them to hear that. Purposeless rabbit holes. I only just discovered rabbit holes, and I have to say, I like the cut of this kid's jib. He does analysis videos on video games and just whatever it seems like he wants to do. I respect that in a person, especially when it comes to their art or platform. In a lot of ways, he really reminds me of myself, in terms of both his execution and style and taste. He likes Spider-Man, so he's cool in my book. Two Snacks. I love Two Snacks. Really, I do. Two Snacks is one of the best animators and editors on YouTube that I've seen in a long time. I don't even mind the fact that everything they do is like My Little Pony themed. That's just a strange quirk that I've come to appreciate over the years. They do animation, mainly taking audio from a certain other YouTube channel that we'll talk about a bit further down the line, but they're just really good at it. The Fallout 4 video is particularly an excellent example of their sense of humor and comedic timing. Friendship truly is magic when you can edit like a wizard. Pushing Up Roses. I'm actually a recent follower of Pushing Up Roses, but the funny thing is, I remember her from back in the day when she used to be on That Guy with the Glasses. I never really watched her stuff then, and I have to apologize for that because I love how unapologetically herself she is. Who, I ask, who would be making videos about Murder, She Wrote's antics in the modern era of the 2010s? Only this woman, from what I can tell. And, if I do say so myself, she's got some good taste point-and-click adventure games. Let me tell you what, anyone with a love for point-and-clicks and Goosebumps is a cool cat. Cursed Farms. Yeah, this one was a given. I think it's pretty blatant that I've based a lot of my style on Ross, and I don't see that as a bad thing. Ross is arguably one of the biggest influences on my approach to YouTube and gaming in general. Not to mention, he's the motherfucker who made Freeman's Mind. An excellent YouTube series. If it were possible, I'd buy a DVD collection of Freeman's Mind. I'm serious, I would. Ross is definitely up there in terms of best YouTuber. But that's subjective, so I digress. Airdorf Games. I've already gushed over Airdorf Games and have said many thanks, but I wanted to take this time to say congratulations on not only getting the third game onto consoles, but for also releasing all 3 games in one package. I eagerly await the release of Faith, the Unholy Trinity. Crimson Rogue. Man, oh man, do I love this literary son of a bitch! He's the only YouTube reviewer who does story bits in his videos that I tolerate. I'm not super big on YouTube review channels following the channel awesome formula of putting characters and stories in your reviews, but Crimson's other stuff is actually really good. In particular, I'm quite fond of his Onision book review trilogy, which is, oh boy, a lovely jaunt through hell. Crim, you are a stronger man than I. Also, you know how to use a sword, so I'm obligated to say nice things. ALB in Whisperland. So, I'm gonna let you in on a big secret of mine. I regularly watch ASMR videos. I watch one at least once a week. I am an individual who does in fact experience this strange phenomenon known simply as the tingles. I feel like there's this weird stigma around those who like this kind of video or those who make these kinds of videos because it is an inherently strange thing. If you've never experienced it before, then chances are it's going to sound weird, and ALB is the only ASMR channel I'm subscribed to. There are others I enjoy, GB is pretty good too, but, I mean, come on. Look at this woman. She is delight in human form. You can't be around this person and not be in a good mood. It's strange, really. I actually went to high school with ALB. We never talked, we had maybe one class together, but you would always see her walking down the halls. I mean, it's kind of hard not to see her. We did actually speak for a bit some odd years ago. I was on a podcast that sadly never got published, but we talked about comic books, video games, and all other kinds of stuff. It was real cool. Real cool. And I just wanted to say thank you, Angelina. You're a relaxing person to listen to. G-Man lives. This guy gets it. This man knows what makes an FPS good. G-Man is great because his videos are short, concise, and he doesn't fuck around. Like, if there's something bad in a game, he'll straight up tell you. And he won't be shy about it. I like the variety to his videos too. He'll cover shit that's so fucking obscure and weird within the FPS genre that it'll make you go, wait, that's a real thing? Plus his accent makes everything he says fucking funny. Not bad for a criminal. Ashens. I think I've been subscribed to Ashens for, since forever. If YouTube were a family, Christ, it would need counseling. But also, Stuart Ashens would be the cool uncle of the family. You know, the guy that has all the video game consoles and all these weird action figures and stuff. He's quick-witted, a real Johnny-on-the-spot type of individual, and I appreciate his skill and talent like that. Funny enough, some of my favorite videos of his aren't on his channel. He's done numerous talks about just the most obscure shit in gaming. His presentation on Hairraiser, the worst game ever, is fantastic. That is a journey. One that I highly recommend. Autumn Ivy. I'm pretty sure I'm exposing myself just a bit too much. But fuck it. I like women with muscles. And I like women with muscles who dress up like Red Sonja. Why? Because goddamn, do I really need an answer? In all seriousness, I've never seen someone work so hard to be a positive figure in terms of healthy mindset and physical health. All the time I see Autumn bringing out words of encouragement, and I wish I had this kind of strength. I truly do. It's difficult to be a positive person all the time, and even she has her moments. So, a big thank you to Autumn Ivy for kicking me in the rear and helping me get back on track of keeping myself healthy. Also, goddamn, I think this woman has done the single greatest cosplay of Revy from Black Lagoon I've ever seen! Like, goddamn! Goddamn! You've heard of thick, get ready for brick! Austin McConnell. I've mentioned Austin McConnell once before, but he deserves another mention. Austin is a very genuine YouTuber. He really does whatever he wants in terms of content, and he's a very well-read and educated individual. I rather enjoy the strange topics he picks for his videos, particularly his KFC examination and his quest to erase his own novel off the face of the earth. He's also an amateur filmmaker who has more knowledge to dispense than I ever could, so if you're interested in that kind of thing, give him a watch. Bardic Broadcasts. Bard is borderline one of my favorite YouTubers, and the guy only uploads like once in a blue moon. And that hurts my heart! Bard is an incredibly charismatic and joyful man who just fucking loves miniature war games and isn't afraid to let you know. His videos mainly cover him reviewing board games with extensive and impressive miniatures, and sometimes he looks at statues. Really cool statues. And he likes Conan. And I like Conan. People who like Conan are dope. So quote the man himself, "Look at the muscularity." Malek. Speaking of muscularity, Malek is the best individual on the internet if you want to see beefy Turians. Did I mention how I feel exposed? Anyway, I really like Malek's artwork. She mainly does Mass Effect fan art, which means it's just Turians. Turians with arms the size of tree trunks. But she's got a beautiful style. Like I know Turians can't get swole like this, but if they could, I imagine this is what they would look like. Plus, if I'm not mistaken, she's working on her own video game, I think? I'd play a game with her art style. At the very least, it'll be nice to look at. She does freelance work too, so if you got a big beefy monster man you want drawn, hit her up. No. Not yet. Brutal Moose. I love Brutal Moose. What started as a guy who did video game reviews like many others on this site, myself included, has blossomed into just a magnificent hippie who makes just the strangest videos. I'm quite enamored with his Brutal Food series in which he cooks things, oftentimes poorly. Again, this is an individual who wears their passions on their sleeve and isn't afraid to just go for it. I have zero interest in RuneScape, but I've watched his 30-minute long delve into RuneScape because it's fascinating just watching someone love something so unapologetically. Captain Disillusion! Captain D is a YouTuber who, God, don't call him Captain D. The Captain is a YouTuber who, using some of the best visual and special effects, debunks videos across the internet with the power of his unthinkably deep mind. The good Captain is one of the more wholesome YouTubers I've ever seen. He really reminds me of a character that would have been on Bill Nye the Science Guy, or maybe even just had his own show back in the day. Fuck, he does have his own show. It's on YouTube! The internet is great like that sometimes. Fucking Christ! So, I've actually been a fan of this guy before I even knew who he was. I used to browse DeviantArt way back in the day, like high school era, and there was always this one guy whose DC comic fan art I always just found to be fucking awesome. Turns out it was... I'm gonna butcher this name. I think it's pronounced Steven, I think? Anyway, he's a comic book artist who not only has his own indie comics, but he's also done work for DC and Top Cow. I should mention, I'm not into kink, which may be a random thing to say, but I do really like his comic book series Sunstone, which is about life, love, and bondage, and other stuff. I own the first 2 volumes, and I genuinely enjoy it despite the subject matter. Steven is a great writer with a good sense of humor and pacing, and his artwork is top-notch. I fucking love this guy's stuff! He recently did a run of DC Comics that I want to track down and read simply because I like his style. Hot take, he draws the best version of Wonder Woman. There. I said it! Lara Croft X Wonder Woman is the greatest thing ever made. Good, bad, or bad, bad. I remember when these guys had like a couple hundred subscribers. Now look at them, sitting up there in the big numbers, all shiny and chrome. I akin this to something podcast-esque, because their videos tend to be an hour or two long, and it's just two guys talking about a movie and deciding whether or not it's good, bad, or bad, bad. It's really good background noise, and I mean that in the most polite and well-nurturing way possible. I do really like these guys. It's just two bros being bros, talking about shitty movies and having a giggle. Banished Potato. Banished is an artist who somehow has never made a comic book, which I think is a crime. I'm pretty sure they've never made a comic book before. I would imagine art like this would be really hard to miss. Their gothic medieval style is eye-catching, and the buff lasses she creates are works of wonder. Is there a theme here? Maybe I'm crazy. Banished Potato deserves more love and eyes. Seriously, I can't wait to see what else they come up with. Lucas Racevic. Racevic puts out some of the best quality videos on YouTube. I'd argue they're practically documentaries at this point, with the level of insight and analysis that he puts into his work. He talks mostly about first-person shooter games, not exclusively, and he really takes his time. This guy maybe puts out like a video every few months, and they're almost always worth the wait. Going forward, I want to strive to be as in-depth as this, which means my video production speed just tanked. Indie Mogul! I'm gonna level with you. Movies have always been a big part of my life. I still, even as I do YouTube, want to one day direct a motion picture. I want to be at the helm of a feature-length movie. And nothing really got me inspired more than watching the week-to-week escapades of Indie Mogul. It's a YouTube channel that's existed for as long as I can remember. It has changed and evolved and doesn't quite resemble what it once was, but I can't help but smile when I think about all the tutorials they put out over the course of my high school life. I still have the little Indie Mogul jingle stuck in my head. Indie Mogul most definitely helped shape me as the movie-loving man that I am today. K-Bash. A friend of mine that I recently met came over to my house one day some odd years ago and said to me, "Marcus, I'm subscribing you to my friend's YouTube channel. This guy deserved way more subscribers." And he did, and I haven't regretted that. K-Bash is most definitely one of my new favorite YouTubers. He's funny, sharp as a knife, doesn't fuck around. In a way, I envy the speed in which he's able to put his thoughts and criticisms into video form. Plus, he's the only big YouTuber who follows me on Twitter. When I was forcefully subscribed to K-Bash, he only had a couple hundred subs. Today, he has over 47,000 and growing. Not only that, but we've talked a few times, and he's a genuinely nice dude and super helpful. So, thank you, K-Bash. But know this. Your helpful advice will spell your undoing. I'm gonna catch up, and when I do... I don't know, I'll buy you pizza. Maximilian Dude. What's that? Marcus likes the internet fighting game Hype Man? Who would have thought? Wholesome. Max is wholesome, plain and simple. The man loves fighting games. He loves talking about fighting games, playing fighting games. If you took a knife to Max, first of all, I'm pretty sure Max would like Rabukin that shit. But secondly, if you could cut Max, I'm 100% positive you would see that his insides are just the internals of fight sticks. There's a strange radiance that emanates from Max, simply from the amount of joy he partakes in video games of any kind, really. He loves Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, this guy goes all out. This motherfucker dressed up in full Bloodborne gear to do a lore run. Maximilian Dude, you keep on keeping on, brother. Peach Saliva. Peach Saliva, also known as Paige of the Ruby Weapon Hour, is one of my favorite streamers. I unfortunately don't have the time to actually watch her streams, but thank God for the Archives channel. She plays whatever the fuck she wants, and says whatever the fuck she wants, She has the most upbeat, positive, fuck you energy I've ever seen. She's a sassy bitch in the best way possible. Her Resident Evil 7 playthrough is exceptionally hilarious, mostly due in part to her inability to understand shadow puzzles. If I had to describe Paige in the simplest of terms, I'd say she's good people. Paige, if you somehow see this, all I have to say is honk! Tulok the Barbarian. Tulok is a recent subscription that I also don't regret. Some of you might know, but for those who don't, I love Dungeons and Dragons. Love D&D. And Tulok the Barbarian has one of the coolest channels for people who love D&D. The whole channel is centered around creating guides for character creation for people who want to recreate their favorite fictional characters within the confines and rules of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. I actually followed one of his builds and made a slightly modified version of Jotaro Kujo. I'm not joking. The craziest part is that the build actually worked. It was viable. Super Best Friends Play. And thus, we come to the bookend of this story. Super Best Friends Play is one of those channels that also really shaped me as a person, I feel. At least in terms of my taste towards media. It was a rare example of guys just playing video games and having fun with it. Indigo Prophecy, Deadly Premonition, Man vs. Wild the Game, Matt and Pat's Shitstorm of Scariness. These are all things that I still watch to this day. Through them, I discovered a lot of people that I already mentioned in this video. Max, Paige, Two Snacks. Without the Super Best Friends, I wouldn't have discovered these people. Sadly, the channel is no longer a thing. The gang basically disbanded and more or less went their own paths, overlapping occasionally. Pat, Matt, Wooly, Liam, these guys are some of my favorite YouTube creators, and each one of them have their own things that I'm also a fan of. Matt's series, Waffle, is excellent. Wooly is teaching people about fighting games and what makes them great. He and Pat also have a podcast that's enjoyable to listen to. Pat got his own streaming channel, and that's the thing I also watch often. And Liam does streams as well, although I admit I don't really watch those. Regardless, I still love the guys, and I hope them all the best. Okay, I'm done being all gushing and emotional shit. Like I said previously, I need to know what to do for the next Marcus Rambles episode, so kindly cast your vote in the straw poll in the description. And also, I will be posting the straw poll to my Twitter. I hope you all have a fantastic new year. Stay safe.